Realities and Perceptions Part 4. This is my story, what is yours? Open for public comments and critics. An analogy of an African child. Please like and subscribe, for by doing so, you are saying viva to the development of underground African writers movement. Let us debate and not argue. The hierarchy stampede. While the rich are relaxing in their castles sipping cognac, nibbling all sorts of eateries with their families and negotiating more business dealings masquerading it as philanthropic, the poor, or the so-called third class at the other hand are also busy in their little farms with their families drinking their home-brewed beer and barbecuing their fattest kills hoping for good weathers to remain stable and positive, and brainstorming on how to multiply their crops and livestock for better trading among themselves in the next harvest season. Meanwhile the middle class, workers, or slaves are away from their families in the cities seeking for better jobs, and when gotten they begin squabbling with each other for job positions, sabotaging one another for each to earn a better recommendation from the master, dragging each other down as low as possible calling it survival of the fittest, or the better man gets the bigger pie. Competition instead of teamwork triggers their ego as it livens them up, and whenever a colleague snoozes the other takes over unsympathetically like animals in the wild, and so that is how the syndrome called hierarchy is deeply engraved in their DNA. Nevertheless doing the same job, the same hours for the same master, yet they battle to who gets paid a little better more than the other, and when finally granted their wish, they instead raise their expenditure status senselessly by purchasing extra liabilities which compels them to work even harder than ever in order to maintain or feed their vacuum ego of look at me or Mpaneng syndrome, which becomes a chronic disease, triggered by immense fatigue of restlessness, leading them to either commit suicide or die prematurely when at the end they realize they are living a perception that will not ever be a reality and can no longer take that lie anymore. This disease is normally engraved from childhood in schools where a collective education system takes place, and learners' different statuses are categorized by their better marks to the others, whereby those with higher marks are seen and treated with high esteem differently from those who seem not to cope with the academical curriculum set by the system, which according to the system it defines the IQ of a learner, ignoring the fact that not everyone is intellectually wired the same, yet. The dictatorial concept the system applies has an even deeper agenda than what mere ordinaries would ever understand, and thus the system works perfectly. In fact, the system is very aware that those who earn good marks they are ordinary minds and potential candidates to take its instructions with precision to further its agenda to the world, and those who seem to struggle within academia are in fact extraordinary-minded candidates with minds of their own, and who can be instructed but rather use their ability to view the world their own way, thus making potential enemies to the agenda the system is upon. To support this statement it is easy, because that's why greatest minds the world has ever had never were great fans of commercial academia, and though they are bookworms themselves but done in their own pace, at their closet or home-schooled. And ask yourself why people who matter do not send their children to commercial schools. In the rich or poor families homesteads hierarchy does not apply, as naturally traditional families acknowledge and respect the numerical lineage bloodline order. Hence they need not squabble over considerations of any sort, should be rankings or wealth distribution itself, for it all belong to the family as a whole, until an outsider who happens to be a helper or a trustee out of jealousy begins to whisper gossipingly amongst the family's heirs in order to gain himself some loyalty negatively, causing havoc and mistrust between the family, while he stands aside playing innocent and rejoicing. Those helpers or trustees could be members of the clergy, and other institutes that work as a helping hand for the homestead, meaning the second or the middle class that is employed closely to the family. In other words, the two original classes, which are the rich and the poor, abide by the same principles and lead similar lives in spite of their wealth difference and social status, are addressed by making their common necessity an obstacle the middle class. Inside the clergy. The clergy, being the master institute in social development in terms of conformation and conversion into the leading religion's agenda, plays a great role of indoctrinating and influencing the masses to its mythical ideologies and principles, which for 2 millenniums have been the cornerstone of this troubled world. This institute, which is the fundamental basis of the middle class, is responsible for leading them into a more perceptive than realistic way of life, channeling them into a narrow path of subordination, servitude, and fear of the unknown not to be questioned, thus allowing hierarchy to prevail and be accepted as the normal way of life, since it is approved by being a major psychological institute, it has been for many centuries responsible for suppressing beautiful and revolutionary minds in tradition, intellect, and academia, retarding the process of emancipation and evolution in all aspects of the human progressiveness that undermines its agenda by denouncing the geniuses as blasphemers then crucify them lawfully, taking advantage of their great influence in the judicial and all fundamental institutes in the CNS, as their long hands, ears, and eagle eyes are spread all over the institutes on land and sea. The hierarchy stampede is a product of this very institute, and it is thorough and severely practiced in the Church, where ranks do matter for power of command and control, widespreading it to the congregants who happen to be the middle-class worshippers, who also adopt it as the normal way of life into the real world, and cause misery to all societies. Inside Academy. Academy, being an institute of knowledge, is supposed to play a great role in enhancing and allowing the human brain to wander limitlessly, and expand its aptitudes beyond the unknown. Could be for a good or a bad purpose, it should not matter, for at the end there are authorities who control and regulate everyone and everything. But the stereotypization and commercialization of it has deprived it from achieving its ultimate goal of discovering and archiving the answers this world requires to know in order to solve the problems devouring it, and that is caused by the hierarchy stampede syndrome, which plays a role on suppressing the geniuses not to emerge, only just because of the rat race of ranks and accreditations among the authorities. The collective and aggregate system which is applied by this institute is also another blunder that deprives the potentiality to individual learners, as instead of the system working on exuding, analyzing considerately and applying each potentiality from individuals, it tends to induce and impose its average old ways to every learner collectively, and thus producing the ordinary results it always produces, while true geniuses of unexplored avenues by the institute resort to drop out or lose concentration, as they feel undermined and get bored by the ordinary, or let me say the laziness to engage with the disapproved or the courage to face new challenges of the extraordinary beyond the right or wrong, or black or white, or quoted from which source philosophy, thus failing or dragging the process of innovation or invention in life. And to back up this statement, Google the academical background of the greatest inventors or innovators in life and see by yourself why they are not great fans of this supposed ultimate and compulsory and knowledgeable institute. And again, Google the most educated people who hold very high degrees and see by yourself what have they achieved or done in life that helped, influenced, or changed the masses' life to either good or bad, and conclude by yourself. Inside Judicial. The Judicial is an interesting and very controversial institute where evidential facts, ethics, and morals are basic priorities in the writing, but practically and historically it undergoes humongous and grotesque flaws caused by its commercialization and the hierarchy stampede that takes place within and amongst the servants, making it unworthy before the eyes of the victims who depend or seek justice, counting on its existence. As much as it is supposed to be a champion institute to stand for human rights, it has been since its conception a very biased institute controlled by whosoever is influential monetary or military-wise at that space and time to shield immoral agendas that benefit a few powerful and corrupt, instead of standing for equal rights and justice for all, where nobody should be above the law, and only the truth ought to prevail. This very institute has been a protector of very evil legislations against humanity, and a savior at some cases, making it one of the most untrustworthy institutes to rely on, especially when you do not have close acquaintances in high places, for your whistle-blowing or testifying could mean your self-conviction or execution. The Judicial has been syndicately used as a white-collar crime sanctuary, where its high-profile authorities are godfathers to the underground gangs of mafiosos capitalists who run huge corporations and control everything and everyone in the whole worldwide, because without evil activities this institute is unhauled, and thus its main priority is its product, which is crime, so it can yield. The Information Institute. This institute plays a great role in divulging information and alerting the ordinary about events and incidences which take place in their surroundings and all worldwide, thus keeping one aware and updated about current affairs. Yet just like all other many institutes, this one too is not exclusive from commercialization because of the hierarchy stampede syndrome that consumes it to its core. Instead of doing the wonderful job it stands for, it instead uses its glamorous presentation of marketing strategies to influence the ordinary of whosoever with a huge capital muscles agenda, making huge profits by misinforming the ordinary continuously and deliberately with deceptive and non-educative advertisements and propagandas, that eventually become a truth people believe in, instead of awakening the masses with the truth facing the world. Through having mastered the art of reiteration through the old saying that says tell a lie with conviction continuously until it becomes the truth, it has managed to make the ordinary to be glued religiously to the TVs, radios, and newspapers, longing for more and more lies they are told, and they behave like puppets controlled by a ventriloquist, having turned into the precise characters their director wants them to be. It has grown through the years to be the most deadly weapon of mass destruction used by everyone, including huge corporations and politicians, to run their campaigns, which 99.9% of them are not beneficial to the well-being of humanity, yet this institute partake in these agendas for a fee in exchange, and it's called business as usual. Unethicality and immorality seem to be the new lucrative agenda this institute vouches for, by ostracizing good content that is educational and classy and capitalizing in nude music videos of explicit sex with vulgar lyricism that has become trendfully and influential to the youth of this century, let alone the human race division gender agenda that destroys families and 1,000 more money scam policies, increasing the number of single parents and parentless children, all instigated by evil entrepreneurs and promoted by this very institute in the name of freedom of press and entitlement.